I worked in government. I mean, I've done it twice, 3 years for Reagan and 3 years for Trump. Byron, I lost money. I had to dip into my savings. I didn't come out buying any damn mansions.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Devon Archer, a former business associate of Hunter Biden, who has now spilled all the beans and told exactly what Hunter was doing to secure big bags of money all over the globe. He was basically selling access or the illusion of access to his father when his father was the vice president, maybe even before that as a senator. This is an obvious thing. We all know that. We saw the laptop emails, 10 for the big guy. We know what's going on. It's no secret. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not just Hunter Biden doing things like this. It's a lot of people that are connected to powerful people in government, whether they be a governor or a senator, maybe even the mayor, and definitely former presidents, vice presidents, etc. Now, before we go any further, let's go ahead and get into a news clip. If you want to see it in full without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Fox News alert, Devon Archer, the man who Hunter Biden once called a Biden, just flipped on the first family. And it's bad. Archer, who's been in Ukrainian board meetings, Chinese dinners, to the Biden family beach house, is saying that Joe Biden was on the phone with Hunter and his foreign business partners at least 20 times. 20 times.
And my thing is, okay, if Hunter is such a great businessman and he could just do things, he's so talented, although at one point he was a crackhead, and I'm not quite sure if he's kicked that habit or not, but different story, I digress. If he's so good at what he does, and why doesn't he call his dad to be on the phone 20 plus times? Like, what are we doing? What's the purpose of that? Let's talk about it a little bit more here as the story continues.
Archer says it was to sell the Biden brand, and Hunter described the Biden brand as gold. Here's how it worked. President Barack Obama would assign Joe Biden a country to handle. And when Biden was assigned to a country, a dirty company with a lot of problems in that country would hire Hunter Biden because they needed something from Joe Biden. Hunter would have dinner with some crooked foreign kleptocrat, and in the middle of dinner, he'd say, "Hey, let's call my pop." He'd get his dad on the phone, put it on speaker, and Joe Biden would say hello to Hunter's business partners. And that was what the business partners were paying for, that phone call.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty clear that all of that makes sense. I believe that 100%. Now, are they going to be able to go to court and prove it? What crime has been committed? That's a different story. But I believe what's being said so far.
They were paying Hunter because he could get Joe Biden on the phone like that. And everywhere Joe went, Hunter got paid. And Joe delivered. Devon Archer told House investigators today that the corrupt Ukrainian gas company, Burisma, only hired Hunter so his father, Joe, could get the prosecutor investigating them fired. Devon Archer testified Hunter was with the crooked Ukrainian CEO when he called D.C. to demand Joe Biden fire the prosecutor.
This was a thing that Joe Biden bragged about before, I believe that was the Council on Foreign Relations. He bragged about it openly. He said it, and I'll link to that video in the description. He said that. They might play that right here in this news clip, but that wasn't even the secret. And when Hunter got hired on Burisma, he had just been discharged from the military for smoking crack, literally. And he had no experience in energy at all, gas, electric, nothing. And all of a sudden, he sits on the board of Burisma Holdings getting paid 50 grand per month to do what? Obviously, he was there because of the connection he was able to bring them. His dad, who at the time was the vice president of the USA, got a lot of power. You can make things happen. And again, Joe Biden bragged about doing this. Now, he didn't say the whole part about his son being there and getting paid and all that, 10 for the big guy, but he did brag about the prosecutor being fired.
3 days later, Joe Biden flew to Ukraine and got the prosecutor fired and then bragged about it. This is what Democrats impeached Trump for probing. Devon Archer also testified that Hunter pulled the same move with other fat cat foreign execs. Archer says Hunter put Joe Biden on the phone with his Chinese partner, Jonathan Lee. And remember, Joe Biden flew Hunter to China on Air Force Two, where Hunter met Jonathan Lee. Hunter introduced Joe and Jonathan Lee in Beijing. They shook hands. It was a $20 million handshake. The Bidens made $20 million from that Chinese deal. After Hunter was given an equity stake in the Chinese investment firm, the Obama-Biden administration greased approvals for Jonathan Lee to take over American car manufacturers. Joe Biden, who claims he didn't talk to his son about his business, even wrote a letter of recommendation to Brown University on behalf of Jonathan Lee's daughter. Jonathan Lee.
That's crazy. I mean, the rabbit hole goes so deep. And, people, they're talking about wealth and, making a certain amount of money. There's so much scamming going on, so much corruption going on. It'll make your head spin. If you only knew what people did to get this money, these big bags of money, it'll just make you it's revolting, to be totally frank.
Lee is a Communist Party power broker who our vice president went to bat for, helping his daughter cut the line in the admissions offices at Ivy League schools. Why? Because his family was getting paid. Devon Archer also testified that Vice President Joe Biden personally met with a Russian billionaire, Elena Batrina, back in 2014 while VP at Cafe Milano in Georgetown. Joe Biden had dinner with her, and a month later, the Russian billionaire wired Hunter Biden $3.5 million.
Remember, there was a meeting at Trump Tower with, it might have been Trump Jr., with a Russian person, and then that was investigated by the federales. They're talking about, there was some improper dealings and election interference, but really it was about adoption or something benign. But things like this go totally unchecked, and it's not really a big deal. Okay, big bags of money transferring from one hand to Joe Biden's hands, from a foreign hand to Joe Biden's hands, from a foreign hand to Hunter Biden's hands, and then 10% to Joe Biden's hands. Those things go totally ignored. But if you are Donald Trump Jr. and you have a meeting with someone at Trump Tower and there's no money that exchanges hands, you get investigated, and they're talking about FISA warrants and everything else. You see how that works? Two-tier justice system at best. Outright corruption from the left for the left at worst.
Now, Democrats say Joe Biden had no idea who he was talking to.
It was clear that it was part of the daily conversations that Hunter Biden had with his father, and it was and sounded like most of the time now President Biden didn't even know who the people he was at dinner. He was just asked to say hello, and he would talk about the way he described it several times. They asked over and over and over. He described what the weather was, how.
Okay, I'm talking about the weather. You know what? Shout out to Coach Greg Adams. He was talking about this, how not Hunter, but Joe will play the whole, I'm an old man, I don't know what's going on, I'm so frail, I'm so mentally just not there. He'll play that role, but really he'll be a criminal mastermind behind the scenes. He'll do all these big deals and get big bags of money while at the same time pretending to be some old fragile man that doesn't know any better. Yeah, I'm not really buying it. I do believe he's old and is stumbling and bumbling, but at the same time, he's not a moron. He is a guy that understands how to finesse the system, game the system, scam, be conniving, and get money. He does understand that for sure. We know that for certain. 10 for the big guy. He's going to get that bag of money. He might fall over a sandbag, but he's going to get that bag of money. Point blank, period.
What's going on your end?
The Democrats went from the laptop's Russian misinformation to Biden was having dinner with Hunter's business partners, but all they talked about was the weather. Now, when I eat dinner, it's usually at least an hour. I'm there for 3 courses. You can talk weather for maybe 5 minutes tops.
Right.
But Biden's talking to a Russian billionaire about the weather the whole dinner? No. What's it like in Moscow? It's cold. Biden's had meetings at Cafe Milano with the Russians, the Ukrainians, the Mexicans, Kazakhstanis, even the Greeks. All Hunter's business partners. You're saying Joe Biden talked about the weather the whole time and had no idea who he was having dinner with? No. Even if Hunter puts his business partners on speakerphone with his dad and they don't talk business at all, you're saying the next day when Hunter talks to Joe, and They say they talk every day. Joe doesn't say, hey, Hunter, what are you doing in Dubai? And who are those Ukrainians you put me on the phone with last night? Come on. The Biden family was selling access to Joe. The phone call, even if it was weather related, was the access.
Let's pause right here. Joe Biden's been in government, in the federal government, since 1973. Okay, you're talking about 50 years. If you're in D.C. that long, you understand these kind of conversations. You understand the implications of the conversations. You understand your power, your importance, your influence as a government official. 50 years you've been in office. You've been in D.C., Capitol Hill. Let's stop playing games. You were the senator and then vice president of the USA for 8 years, and now the president. Let's not play ignorant here, Joe, Hunter, the whole Biden family. Please stop.
Biden always delivered on the back end. The Chinese and the Ukrainians got what they wanted out of Biden. Even the Russian lady who bribed Hunter $3.5 million, Joe Biden left her off the sanctions list. The one Russian billionaire not on the sanctions list happens to be the same one who paid the Biden family millions of bucks.
Okay, there's a lot more to this. It's probably like another 5 minutes. Just for time's sake, I'm not going to play the entire thing. But you get the idea of what's going on. There's a lot of corruption. People are starting to sing. I think Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon, he was talking about all this. The 10 for the big guy, selling access. He's on the phone, speakerphone, 20 plus times. We already know what it is. We already know what's going on. But the question is, will there be any kind of consequence? Will they be held accountable? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. The Biden DOJ wants to hold Trump accountable for a nothing burger, for a thing that he can do as a former president that should not be prosecuted at all. If the former FBI or current, I'm not sure if he's still there, the FBI director at the time, Jim Comey, if he gets on TV and says, well, there's enough to charge Hillary Clinton, but nobody reasonable would do it, that would not be reasonable prosecution. If he could say that on television for a person who was never a president or vice president or anything like that, then why would that same courtesy not be applied to the president who does have the power to be able to declassify documents? It's because the DOJ, the FBI, all these alphabet letter organizations are being weaponized against Trump because they don't want him to run again. They don't want him to succeed again. That is the whole thing. Biden, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Ashley Biden, whoever, they get slaps on the wrist at best and outright ignored at worst. That's just what it is, and it's easy for anybody to see what's happening. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's going on here in your humble opinion? Do you think that Hunter and Joe and the whole Biden family are engaged in widespread corruption that is being ignored by the federal government? Or is it the opposite? They've done nothing wrong. It's nothing burger. I'm just exaggerating. I'm taking the word of some random guy, and no, there's no other evidence of anything that they have done wrong. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. The Biden family is very corrupt. They're getting big bags of money all over the place, and anybody can see it. And it's not just the Biden family, the Obamas, the Bushes. A lot of them do the exact same thing. But we see the level of hypocrisy. They're trying to get Trump for alleged corruption, although there's no evidence of that. But the Bidens have clear evidence of corruption right in front of our faces, and we are told to ignore it. It's bogus. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.